Alright, hello everyone. I was a bit bored recently and really felt the urge to play some Path of Exile 1. As you know, PoE 2, it's good, it's nice, but it just doesn't scratch the same itch. So I want to join the PoX private league. So yeah, this whole build will be made within their private league, which means some items are less easy to obtain. It's a bit harder to craft proper items. Also, I've not progressed this build as far. As you can see, only 2 days, 21 hours. So we're not that far along. Let's check the kills real quick. Yeah, so it's still in its pretty early stages. But seeing as the new Phyrexia event is coming up, I'm probably not going to play this much more than this. So I wanted to share, where I ended up. Also, I do want to say that this build is pretty much inspired quite a lot by Subtractim's version of this. Specifically the leaf slam aspect of it. I really also enjoy taking movement skills and using them for their damaging capabilities, and that way traversing the map quickly while still doing damage to everything along the way. So without further ado, this is the Gladiator, or Bleed Gladiator, specifically using the Lacerate and the leaf slam skills. So let's have a quick look at the passive tree, as we always do. So to start, we have the Resolute technique. Hits can be evaded. Yeah, seems pretty standard for this build archetype. Got some live nodes, got some of the bleed nodes. Then we take all the X nodes here. They also work on ailments, so our bleeds. So we do use endurance charges, so we take the max endurance charge. Then we have our prismatic jewel socket here for the extra fizz damage. Specifically nice because we have all these X nodes here. This gives us around 20% extra damage, so it's quite a lot. Then moving down, we have our 1% max elemental res. We do try to get our elemental res pretty high. We do not take spell suppression in this variant of the build, so we just try to crank the maximum elemental res a bit up to be properly protected outside of our block, of course. So yeah, other than that, indeed, the block, also 20% chance to avoid elemental ailments while holding a shield. This is not per se mandatory. You could go for a Storm Shroud setup, you could just go with the reduced shock on your Pantheon. I just like being completely ailment immune. And since I happen to roll ailment immunity on my shield as well, this was an easy way out to get to 100%. Then blood magic. You could go for it. You could not go for it. I think it very much makes the build a lot easier to build. A lot less worry about getting your mana good, get your reservation cost down, getting, for example, reduced cost of attacks. So definitely early you would want to run blood magic. Maybe in the later stages you could turn this off, and then you could also run a tincture, which gives you increased ailment damage, which you can then pop when you fight bosses and stuff like that. Might be a bit better for the end game variant of the build, but early this is definitely very nice. Then, of course, some more block nodes here. Yes, the classic fortify, melee hits fortify. You could do the fortification on the body, like 11% chance to fortify on melee hit, but I feel like we don't hit often enough. That's why I went for the fortify mastery to just always fortify on hit. Some live nodes. Then we are running one cluster. It's not mandatory at all. I just wanted an extra jewel slot for Watcher's Eye. So with this cluster we run Battle Hardened, Furious Assault, and Iron Breaker. Of those, we take the Battle Hardened and the Iron Breaker. There's another node, I forgot what it's called exactly, but it gives 10% all elemental resistances as well, which is kind of nice. Usually we just socket 2 gems here probably, but since I was kind of short on Chaos Resistance, I ended up throwing in a medium cluster with Student of Decay, so I could cap out my Chaos Res. Jewels are mainly just max life, in this case Corrupted Blood as well, immunity as well, because you want that somewhere. And the other stuff you're going to be looking for is just damage over time multiplier, increased damage with bleeding. Then Watcher's Eye with increased physical damage while using Pride, and of course the highest max life you can find there. We don't care about mana and ES. Then moving up we have some more bleed nodes, nothing too special to mention there. Coming down here through life, then we take a Versatile Combatant, which will make sure we get to the appropriate amount of spell block. Moving down here, get some nice armor per endurance charge, and also area of effect per endurance charge, very nice for our leap slam. And then of course extra damage for endurance charge. With that we take endurance charge, also we take frenzy charges, we generate those through blood rage. Here another example, increased damage with bleeding, attack speed, max life, stuff like that. It's just good jewel items. Then some ailment stuff here. Less damage taken from damage over time. Definitely the weakness of this build. We do, with all the blocks, we regenerate a lot of life since we have the life recovery on block on our shield. So damage over time is definitely our weakness. Hence, we also try to mitigate that as much as possible through stuff like this. And also, while you'll see, I have some regen here and there as well. Then some more block nodes. This is the last few that we need to get to a point that we are exactly block capped, or rather overcapped for attack damage, but specifically block capped for spell damage because of it. And then lastly, take some of the X nodes with the faster bleed. Then we come up here, you can see I have 3 tattoos. It's the Kitaba Shaman one for 5% chance to cause bleeding. Reason being that puts my Leap Slam at exactly 100% chance to cause bleeding. It's very important that it's 100%. You can do without, then you would have to run a chance to bleed on your Leap Slam instead of whatever other support I'm running right now, probably instead of Volatility. Other than that, some of the melee nodes, live nodes. Actually, this is pretty good as well. Then some bleed nodes, Unwavering Stance. You cannot be stunned, which is very nice. Moving along, get some of the max res, get some more live nodes. I think very standard stuff here. One thing to mention is that you can go Iron Reflexes, move your evasion rating into armor, and then get some more evasion base gear, evasion armor base gear. Makes it a bit easier to build. Then you can also run a evasion based flask and then convert that as well. You can double dip in that with a jade flask and a granite flask instead of using the basalt flask. But as you can see, I have 28 evasion rating. I went all out on just getting full armor bases, so I did not have to take that. Especially since I'm not rocking any spell suppression. I'm not caring about that at all, so I'm not too fussed about needing evasion bases. So then, when it comes to the gear, I think the most interesting one is the Reaver Axe. It's an Elder base. So what you do here is you just keep hitting it with an essence. What is it? The essence of really sharp. It doesn't tell me. Give me a second. There we go. Essence of Contempt. There we go. So you just keep hitting that until you get the damage multiplier from bleeding. At which point you hit a prefixes cannot be changed and then a Veil Orb, and then you hope to get one of the increased physical ones. You have a physical Veil modifier, which in this case I got. Sadly, with no chance to bleed on hit. With that, you wouldn't need to have tattoos, but it doesn't really matter that much. After which prefixes cannot be changed, and then Reforge attack. I think it was Reforge attack. Until you hit the Cunning Strike against bleeding enemies, and then you, if you still have an open suffix, you craft on attack speed, and then you slam, and I happened to slam damage over time multiply, which is very nice. And then if you're still playing in the Saturnus League, you can craft on the increased physical damage. Otherwise, you could do something like I have here, increased explicit physical modifiers to get a bit more damage on it. As for the helmet, this is straight up just bought. I just bought a +2 AoE with life and some resistances, and that's about it. I just wanted to crank up the Leap Slam a bit more. Probably ideally in a more endgame situation, you would have one of the essences which gives you 30% increased damage over time multiplier to sock with the gems, and then you would sock with your Leap Slam and your gloves instead. But this works perfectly fine. Fist taken as and fist recouped as life. Then the shield, most important part, I guess, of this build. Obviously, 5% life on block is a bit nicer. I just happened to hit it like this. I just spammed the life fossils to get this. And then I happened to hit avoid elemental ailments, which, 30% from my shield, 20% from the tree, like I mentioned before. And then the other 50% comes from my boots. So that way I'm ailment immune. Just hit it with life essences until you have like a decent amount of life, a decent amount, and the recover life on block, and then hopefully maybe you hit a nice regen as well, some knife resistances, some extra armor, anything really goes there. For the amulet, Hunter's Amulet, I just slammed it with physical, or rather horticrafted it with physical. I'm not sure if that is the most efficient way, but it's how I ended up with this. And as you can see, it carries my dexterity pretty freaking hard. Yeah, the build's not that stat hungry, but sadly for the blood rage and stuff, you do need quite a bit of dex still. So yeah, I just did physical reforge on the bench. This ring is a ring that has the increased bleeding duration, increased damage with bleeding. It's a Warlord's ring. I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth the Warlord's ring. It's probably better to spend that money on getting essences that have a damage over time multiplier on the ring rather than the increased damage with bleeding. But you know, it was something fun to craft, and it carries my resistances with all Res together with a good life roll, you know, so it's fine. But yeah, I would not recommend it, to be honest. Just go for a good ring with good life and resistances. And maybe attack speed, right? Same with this ring, just some good life, a big int roll, because I needed some more intelligence for vulnerability. 68 intelligence, I think, is the killer here. Yeah, so I don't need that much, but you know, it is what it is. Some resistance, some life. Body armor, pretty trash. I crafted this like a few days into the league, just to get, you know, a 6 link with at least a good amount of armor, because I was struggling with physical damage, hence the armor, and then some nice resistances. Obviously you want a good life roll in here, right? You can get like, what is it, 200 life on the body, so that's definitely missing out there. Fist taken ass, and of course, like I mentioned before, the max res, which we're trying to get, currently up to almost 80 here. Then gloves, nothing special either. Life, big chaos res, big cold res. You know, I just bought the life fracture, hit it with the chaos res essence until I hit some good stuff. Yeah, that's about it. You know, attack speed is always nice. Physical damage over time multiplier, instead of the increased damage per 100 strength, you could opt for the chance to bleed, which could maybe alleviate some passive points or those tattoos I showed earlier. But yeah, other than that, nothing special there. Also, if you are going spell suppression, you could hit it with a 5% spell suppression as well, as one of the Eldritch modifiers. Boots, so I bought the Fractured Life boots, slammed them with the Avoid Elemental Ailment essence, to at least get 30%, and then on the top half are the implicits. I have the 20%, which is the 50% I need to finish off my ailment immunity. Yeah, it's, you know, they're not amazing boots, but I just slammed them until I at least had some decent resistances or saw decent movement speed, and then finished them up. Then the one I would say mandatory unique is Raslata's Coil. The reason this is so good, right, is with bleed you do a physical hit, and then based on that hit your bleed, or not a hit, but not an actual hit, but the damage that attack would do, that's what your bleed is calculated on, not exactly hit damage. So the damage that the attack will do it ranges from various, you know, from low to high. So if I look here, it is 436 all the way up to 14,840. So each of these hits is gonna apply a different bleed, right? And the highest one is the one that sticks. You are basically fishing for a high bleed. That's why it's you run volatility support for a higher max attack, and that's also why Raslata's Coil is so stupidly good for this build. Because if you look, and I put this away, you will see, you know, 738 to 9,525. So on average, you know, the actual physical damage I'm doing with this attack, you know, might be the same. But we want a very high single hit somewhere along the few hits we're going to do to make sure that we apply a very big bleed. So that's why it's also very important, if you can, to get that more maximum physical attack at 40%, and then hit it with Catalyst to bring it up all the way to 48. And that way you can see we go from 9,500 all the way up to 14,800, essentially, you know, giving us 40+% damage increase, which, you know, it's insane. So yeah, that's very good. Other than that, Life Flask, don't really need it, but you know, it's there. Would probably just get another utility flask. Rocking Granite and Basalt, both with charges when hit by enemy. Attack damage leases life. I'm not sure if I really need that. Just happen to roll that with the 3 charge when you're hit, so I just stuck with it, and increased armor as well. Then Silver Flask with the same 3 charge when hit. I mean, you can do with 2, I just happened to roll 3 on those. Then increased rarity of items. I don't know, just I wanted to have something. Could have probably done the regen life during effect, be a bit more tanky against damage over times, but you know, it's fun to find some better stuff, I guess. And then lastly, this should have also been a charges when hit, but it didn't get around to crafting a proper one. And this is also from my old set, because you can see it still has increased evasion rating, which, you know, doesn't really do anything anymore since we are not rocking the Iron Reflexes keystone. I don't know what you would put on here. Probably you could put the regen life on here, or you know, movement speed actually. Yeah, some extra movement speed would be nice. So that's it for the gear and the flasks. As for the skills, so we are rocking the Leap Slam of Groundbreaking, specifically Groundbreaking because, as you can see, the effectiveness of added damage is 718%, so it's a very high amount of base damage, which means we can apply very big bleeds with this Leap Slam. The downside of it being, it gets a lot less far than your regular Leap Slam, so I'm not sure if I can quickly grab one. So let's get a level 70 size up. Alright, so as you can see, these are the jumps I make right now. They're not that impressive if I'm going to compare that to these jumps. Like, I can make it in 2 jumps where I would need 4 of this smaller Leap Slam. But yeah, as you can see, 277% effectiveness versus 700, so this does a lot more damage. Brutality support for increased Fizz and volatility support. And then faster attacks. This is not mandatory, you could do something else if you are struggling with the damage your Leap Slam is doing, but this does mean that you can just get through the map quite a bit faster because you can just keep jumping from pack to pack. You could also run a regular Leap Slam in between, but I'm kind of full in terms of skills, so that's why I chose not to. So that's it for one of our skills. The other main skill is the Lacerate of Haemorrhage. So this has an innate increased damage with bleeding and chance to cause bleeding. With that, we run the Awaken Deadly Ailments for more damage with ailments, Swift Affliction, so they you know, pass faster. You could replace this with something else. I just like it because then I can quickly hit some rares and then move on, see their drop quicker without having to wait for tanky rares. Awakened Melee Fizz, Awakened Brutality, so and Volatility, very important. Right, like I mentioned, the same with the Reslatas Coil, that higher maximum is very good. Then as for the auras, we have Pride with the Eternal Blessing, since we do not have any mana with our Blood Magic. So that's our one aura, and other than that we reserve some, where is it? There, with Vitality. So that's the other one. Oh, turns out I brought off. With Vitality to get some extra life regen, just to, you know, help us protect us a bit from the damage over times on the ground. We have Vulnerability Curse, which we throw out manually when needed. You could maybe get it like on a ring if you want to. Downside would be that it's a level 1 vulnerability versus level 20 vulnerability, so, you know, is a bit better in the end, but it you know, it's more quality of life to have it automatically be applied. Blood Rage, so that gives us frenzy charges when we kill stuff, which would also in turn gives us attack speed, which means we can also traverse the map faster as well with our Leap Slam. Just makes the whole flow of mapping feel a lot smoother. Then Frostblink, so we combine that with our jumps just to get some extra mobility in. We have the Enduring Cry, so that's just for bosses basically. Currently we have a 25% chance to gain endurance charge on kill and 25% chance to gain endurance charge on block. So when we're mapping, we're always maxed out on endurance charges very easily. But when it comes to bosses, it's good to use this to get it up before you start blocking, so that you do not get one shot by that one visit that you do not have enough physical mitigation for without your max endurance charges. Then Cosmo Damage Taking Support Molten Shell on level 5 and level 10, I think pretty usual setup. Vitality, like I mentioned, and then a War Banner that stacks as you kill and move along. I think that's everything there is to say about this build. So let's go to some quick showcases. So I have here a Twisted prepared. I've been doing some boss rushing with this build, and specifically also a lot of ritual and stuff like that. Stuff with closed packs, which makes me think I completely forgot to speak about the Ascendancy. I'll do that in a bit. But yeah, as you can see, you know, bleed damage is pretty consistent. I think we're currently at 10 mil bleed DPS, which, you know, it's very nice. The nice thing about damage over time DPS is that you can just apply it, and then if you have to run away, you know, it's completely fine. And also, as you can see, like tankiness wise, we're very much chilling here. Health is not moving a whole lot. So yeah, let's just finish this up and quickly go over the Ascendancies. Or actually, you know what, I'll finish the showcase and then put the Ascendancies at the end so that the timestamps make sense. At least make a bit of sense, I would say. Alright, so that's that. Let's do a quick map, tier 16. And then maybe I can also do a quick tier 17 as well, I guess. See how it fares. I'm not sure. I don't think we're tanky enough for a boss just yet. So we pop our Blood Rage, and then as you can see, we can just jump through the entire map, and everything on our way will just explode due to the bleach we apply, and the explosions due to the Ascendancy, which I remember I forgot to talk about that. So what the Ascendancy does is that every bleeding enemy will, I think, explode for 20% of their health from the top of my head, which is what makes it so good for the whole mapping, because you just, you know, you jump into a pack, a couple get bleeding, and then these rares you just hit, you know, with like 1 or 2 Lacerate hits and they will die as well. I guess if you are truly end game, you could move this to a point where your leaf slam would already kill everything along the way. You know, that would probably be the more end goal of this build. But you know, I never got that far, and with the new event coming up, I don't think I'm gonna make it that far. So hence I'm showcasing the build in its current state, because this will probably be one of the you know, last time I play this build. So yeah, this strategy just involves around Maven spawning some extra bosses when that boss dies. We're using Silo, so we can just keep rerunning this map. Yeah. Okay. And let's just quickly run through a tier 17. And then I don't know how that's gonna go. I only did one. It went fine, but I don't think the tankiness is that crazy. You know, it's good. Like, it's solid. I could probably, I don't know if I can. I would say I could probably tank some rares and some casual monsters. Yeah, you know, like, because the life on block, like, as long as you don't get, I would say, killed in 3 hits, you are generally fine to be tanking, because effectively with our lucky block we have like 90% block. So I would say it's very comfortable for tier 17s as well, if you get, if you build it well enough, let's say. And as you can see, damage is, you know, completely fine as well. Let's not take the shrine, as to, you know, have a fair showcase of what the build is actually capable of. Let's just move along to the boss. I don't really care for the loot in this map for now. Just want to show what the build is about. Okay, I care for that. Okay. So let's have a look how this is gonna go. This can go very terribly, but we'll see. So I do know. So in terms of damage, it's alright, you know. I would definitely like to have at least double the Lacerate damage, which we're seeing right here. But you know, it's fine. It gets the job done. Let's put it that way. Actually, also let me not forget to put down my war banner. So yeah, that was definitely one of those bigger hits that, you know, we strive under many small hits, but you see big hits like that, it still gets a bit iffy, I would say. Ah, yeah, there you go. So unlucky. Tankiness is not to the point where, you know, we can, like the lightning strike tricks I had earlier, where we can just straight up tank everything, no problem. Oh, that's also, I think, the crit shrine buff, and they were also on consecrated ground, you know, not making it easy for myself. Anyway, you get the point. I think if you build this a bit further, as you saw, my gear is very basic still, you know, aside from the hatchet, but if you build this a bit further, you can definitely very easily push into tier 17s and do those comfortably. So yeah, quickly ascendancies, which I completely missed. Yes, gratuitous violence. So that was the bleed pops I was talking about. So the bleeding enemies will explode for 20% of their max life, clearing everything in the pack you're jumping into. Then jagged technique, which means your bleeding is always aggravated. Now, some people do like to use the boots, which say like enemies suffering elemental ailments count as aggravated for your bleeds. That means you do not need to apply this, and then you can maybe go for a weapon master or for war of attrition, which might be nice for these tier 17 bosses, which, you know, the fights take a bit longer. But this is just for me, quality of life. I wanted to keep these free so I could get elemental ailment avoidance. So that's why I went for jagged technique here. And then, of course, the block is always 50%, so it doesn't matter what block you have on your shield. So that's why increased block chance is also just dead on the shield. And then lastly, chance to block, attack, or spell damage is lucky if you blocked recently, which basically puts you at like 90% effective block chance. Okay, well, I think that's all there is to say for this build. A lot to take in a short amount of time. If you made it this far, I would like to thank you very much. If there's any other questions or things I might have missed, skipped over, or you want to know how to craft something, anything like that, do feel free to leave it in the comments. If you could hit me with a like, I would appreciate it. And other than that, I wish you all a very nice day. Goodbye.